Nalanda, frozen in time.
Base of Nalanda. 90 kilometers away from Patliputra, that is today's Patna, and 12 kilometers from Rajgir, which was once known as Rajgrah, there was a place called Nal, which was also known by the name of Nalak or Nalak Gram. This place was famous for being the birth and death place of Buddha's first disciple, Shariputra. It is believed that Shariputra saw his birth and death in the same room at this place. On the same place, a temple was built in his name, which was there for a good number of years, and hundreds and thousands of devotees would come up to worship this great soul. Shariputra was that first lucky devotee who listened to Buddha's preachings, and this is the reason why he was worshipped so much at this place. The place, which is today famous for the ruins of Nalanda Mahavihara, was once known for Shariputra's temple only. Samrat Ashok visited this temple in 3rd century BC and got so fascinated by it that he thought of renovating the temple. Ashok is the one who can be given credit for building the base of this place and making Shariputra's temple more popular, while Nalanda Mahavihara was the brainchild of Kumar Gupta, who was the founder of this so popular institution. He started construction of Mahavihar in 500 AD. It is said that in 6th century BC also, there was a famous mango garden right here. As far as the place Nalanda is concerned, according to the sources and proof available, it was very much in existence in 5th century BC, and before that too. Before even Shariputra's temple came into existence, when both Buddha and Mahavir used to visit this place. But when it comes to the existence of Nalanda Mahavihar, it was built in the 5th century AD, and before this, the place was famous for Shariputra's temple only. And people also knew that Buddha used to come to this place quite often. We get proof for this in Fahyan's writings, who visited Bharat from the period between 399 and 414 AD, and has mentioned about Shariputra's Chaitya, that is temple only, and nothing else. His search for Buddhism brought him to Bharat. But one important thing to be noticed here is that nowhere in his writings he has mentioned Nalanda Mahavihar during his visit, which means that the Mahavihar was non-existent in the 4th and early 5th century. From the 5th to 12th century, Bharat's Nalanda Mahavihar was one big university of knowledge. From the proofs and remains found, historians have given it a highest place in spreading knowledge and education. From 5th to 10th century, Nalanda Mahavihar was the only big university in the world that was providing knowledge to thousands of students of Asia. But the first ever university of the world was Takshila, which is now in Pakistan, but was very much a part of India before partition. It was destroyed by Huns in the 5th century. On second place comes Nalanda Mahavihar, but unfortunately only ruins of both these universities are left today. And on the third place comes 3 universities, which came into existence before the destruction of Nalanda, which were Al-Azhar University of Cairo in 927 AD, Bologna University of Italy in 1088 AD, and Oxford University of United Kingdom in 1167 AD. It is believed that before Nalanda Mahavihar, believers of Buddhism, known as monks, had made some meditation centers here, and the sole reason of selecting this place was its purity, because this was the place where Buddha himself came so many times, preached so many times, and meditated so many times. What better place for meditation there could be than the place which witnessed Buddha and his first disciple Shariputra's presence years and centuries ago. The monks must have selected this place, keeping in view its peacefulness and purity. There are 3 myths related to Nalanda Mahavihar's name. According to the first one, Nalanda got its name from 2 words, Naland, which means lotus, a symbol of knowledge, and Da, which means to give. According to the second myth, which was written by Hyun-tsang in his book On His Journey to Bharat, Nalanda is made up from 3 words, Na, Alam and Da, which means a gift which can never be destroyed. And third myth given by yet another Chinese traveler Itzing says that Nalanda was named after a snake called Nalak, who used to live here in a well. Historians are of the view that during the time when Buddha used to visit Nalanda, the place was very prosperous and had huge population. Education at Nalanda. Nalanda Mahavihar was primarily a center of learning of Buddhism, but apart from Mahayana and Hinayan, law, various philosophies, grammar, Ayurveda, all Shastras including Vedas, mathematics, science and astronomy etc. were also taught here. All subjects were taught here, be it Buddhism or any other. People who were studying here were called bhikshu and teachers were called acharya, and they all were basically disciples of Buddha. And vast knowledge was imparted among students by acharyas, which proves the fact that in Nalanda Mahavihar more importance was given to imparting knowledge than caste or religion. One more prominent thing to be noticed here is that in Nalanda Mahavihar, only bhikshus were allowed, that is, males, and no females were allowed. It is said that the first bhikshuni was Vaishali's Nagarvadhu Amrapali, who got so influenced by Buddha's preachings that she left everything and became his follower. Mahatma Buddha got enlightenment. And from there only he got light in his life, which he spread among common people. And today, after centuries, it has crossed the limits of our country and is popular worldwide. And it won't be wrong to say that Buddha imparted this knowledge in others so that people understand it, accept it, and through this realize the real purpose of their lives and pave their way towards getting moksha. During his lifetime, he would have never thought of making his thought process, his understanding and way of life to be misinterpreted as a religion or community, which unfortunately happened. But the good thing is that people are following the preachings of Buddha and are making their life better every day. There are not hundreds or thousands, but millions of people who have accepted Buddhism and have got positive results by accepting the principles of Buddhism in their lives. Coming back to Nalanda Mahavihar, according to Chinese traveler Hyun-tsang, rules and regulations of Nalanda Mahavihar were very strict, and no one was allowed to go against them. And he further proved it by saying that in 700 years old history of Nalanda Mahavihar, there was not even a single student who broke any rule. It proves that the system in Mahavihar was so strong that no one ever thought of breaking it, and also they never felt the need to do so. Students and teachers in the Mahavihar were so much satisfied and comfortable in their system that the rules were actually not rules for them, but had become their way of life. It is is believed that students who were studying here were not given any degree or certificate, but simply what they learned here made them not just better, but best human beings who had the knowledge to improve the lives of other people too. And it was much more than getting a piece of paper with degree written on it. Like today's education system, thousands of years ago, students were not just given theoretical knowledge in Bharat, but practical knowledge and understanding was imparted, which made it easier for them to understand and bring it in their lives and practice it. And this is the reason why the students were so knowledgeable and disciplined. It is believed that schedule of the day used to get set with the help of a mica stone, the reflection of which on Buddha's stupa would help them calculate time. All the activities of the day were planned according to this activity, which became possible in the presence of sun. If we talk of today's time, we feel very proud in getting education from abroad. But years back, students from far-off countries would come to Nalanda Mahavihara for education. Nalanda Mahavihara was not just famous in Bharat, but worldwide. Students from far-off countries like Central Asia, Southwest Asia, China, Tibet, Mongolia, Indonesia, Persia, Greece, Turkey, Sri Lanka and Korea would come here for education. One of the best things about Nalanda Mahavihara was that students were given education free of cost. Bearing the cost of living of all the monks and the whole Mahavihara was the responsibility of the king. And the kings only, from time to time, had assigned about 150 to 200 villages to surrender their incomes so that expenses of the Mahavihara could be met. Medium of education here was Sanskrit, and it was compulsory for students to have knowledge of Sanskrit, whether he belonged to Bharat or any other country. Yun Tsang is a proof of this particular rule. He was a Chinese who not only studied here but also taught here. And he had taken few texts from here, which he later on translated from Sanskrit to Chinese. We come to know from this proof that in spite of being a Chinese, he knew Sanskrit, which he might have learnt to take admission in Mahavihara. Entrance examination of Nalanda. Nowadays, so many of us try hard to get admission in foreign universities, and most of the time we succeed too. But it was just the opposite in case of Nalanda Mahavihara as far as getting admission there was concerned. So many people wanted, but it was not possible for everyone to get admission there. And above all, there was no favoritism there. Knowledge and intelligence was the sole basis of admission. It was mandatory for students seeking admission at the Mahavihara to have basic religious and spiritual knowledge, no matter how intelligent a student is. But if he is not able to answer the questions asked or his knowledge is not up to the mark, he won't get admission. And to everyone's surprise, the questions were not asked by acharyas there, but Dwarpal, that is watchman. Now one can well imagine the extent of intelligence among Nalanda Mahavihara people that if Dwarpal was so learned and literate that he would take test of students, what to talk of acharyas? It is believed that on an average, 2 or 3 out of 10 students would get admission in Nalanda Mahavihara. Students and teachers of Nalanda. It is believed that in an area comprising of 10 kilometers in length and 5 kilometers in breadth, Nalanda Mahavihar had 10,000 students and around 1,500 teachers in it. It seems hard to believe that the era which we call ancient had such a mammoth infrastructure with all the basic amenities, whether it's infrastructure, daily needs of students and teachers, or sewerage system. Nalanda Mahavihar is beyond our imagination. When we see today's developments and discoveries, we feel that this time is better. But the fact is that the discoveries, inventions, infrastructure and techniques witnessed by our ancient Bharat are much more exemplary and big as compared to today's. In fact, we cannot even think of doing even 10% of what our great saints, scholars, kings and builders had done in those days. Like the ancient era, modern era also has some great people. But the difference lies in their greatness. Learned scholars like Nagarjuna, Aryadev, Dharmpal, Suvishnu, Brahmana, Asanga, Shilbhadra, Dharmakirti, Vasubandhu, Kamalshil, Shantarakshit, Dipankar, Padmasambhav and Rahul Shri were the ones who gave knowledge to students at Nalanda Mahavihar. Out of these, so many acharyas were once bhikshus or students here and brought name, fame and recognition to the Mahavihar. Chinese traveller Yun Tsang was also one among those who studied as well as taught here. The stamp of Samudragupta proves that at some point of time, great scholar Shankaraditya was also the principal of this Mahavihar during its 7 centuries of existence. There were different cabins known as Kaksh for students and teachers, but the facilities provided to them were almost same. The last principal of Nalanda Mahavihar was Rahul Shri Bhadra, who was last seen teaching some 70 students at the age of 90 years. This was seen by a Tibet traveller who disclosed that Rahul Shri Bhadra's last student was a Tibetan. About scholar Shantarakshit, it is famous that he was invited by the king of Tibet, King Karisondev Tasang, and provided education to students there. But he never came back to Bharat. He died there in 762 AD. This was the time when Padmasambhav also went to Tibet and started Lama religion, which after centuries is still popular. Nalanda Mahavihar's rooms, meditation centers and washrooms. All students had small rooms where they used to stay all the time except when they were attending classes. This room had a separate corner for books and a separate corner for lamps, which was located at the entrance of the room. During the daytime, the lamp was kept here, and in the night, students will keep it close to them while studying. Castor oil was used to light up the lamps as it doesn't leave smoke. This small thing shows that in Nalanda Mahavihar, even the smallest needs of students were taken care of. Students and teachers would never utter any such thing which could harm others. One hostel known as Vihar of this Mahavihar had 30 to 40 rooms, and in one of these rooms, one dark meditation cave was there, where there was no light and students used to go one by one to meditate. This dark meditation cave had a very small door, so students would have to bend to enter the room. Acharyas had a separate meditation room where only they used to meditate. The Mahavihar had separate place for group meditation, which were made out in the open where all the students and teachers would meditate collectively. This further explains the fact that there were 2 types of meditation centers in Nalanda Mahavihar. One was cave-like and the other was open. The difference was that in cave-like meditation room, students and teachers would go one by one, while in the open one, all would meditate together. One hostel had one open washroom for every 30 students, which it is believed did not have a ceiling. Students used to have collective bath. The entry gate of every hostel had Buddha's sculpture on both sides, and students would not enter their hostel without bowing their heads to Buddha. According to Chinese traveler Hyun Tsang, Narsingh Gupta got constructed a 1300 feet long statue of Buddha in the Mahavihar. But the irony is that the same has not still been found because no excavation has been done in recent past. This fact came into light from Hyun Tsang's book called Satang Siuchi. The Mahavihar had lots of lakes and gardens too, apart from other buildings and architecture. Nalanda Mahavihar had a big porch where all bhikshus would gather when acharyas had to deliver any lecture. The stage of this porch was very high, where acharyas would give lecture. It is believed that Nalanda Mahavihar had 300 lecture halls. The lecture halls had seats made of stones, along with various laboratories for experimentation purpose. Bricks of Nalanda. Rooms of Nalanda Mahavihar were made up of red bricks, which were made with jaggery, urad dal, limestone, surkhi, belras and mud. If we take a closer look at these bricks, we would just feel as if these are not joined. It seems that these have just been kept one on one like that. But the fact is that in spite of giving such a look, these are standing tall for thousands of years, even after getting burnt for years. Two types of bricks, that is big and small, and thirdly concrete has been used in Nalanda. This variation is there because renovation was done in different times by different rulers. So, every ruler used different material. Small bricks were used by Pala kings, Gupta kings used big bricks, while Harsha kings used concrete. It is said that structure of Nalanda is based on Kushan architecture. But if we talk of strength and sustainability, in spite of getting burnt continuously for months, the basic structure is still there. After so many years, centuries in fact, one can still see burnt marks on so many walls of Nalanda, and along with strength, these bricks and walls have coldness. Yes, the bricks were so thick layered that it remained cold inside, and bhikshus and acharyas could manage without fans too. The material used for making bricks was the main factor why the internal environment of the room was cold. Now after centuries too, even if someone goes there in hot afternoons, one can feel the coldness inside, no matter how hot is the climate outside. It is believed that Nalanda Mahavihar had 4 main doors, but now, in spite of excavations, we have not been able to get even a single door. The one that is used as main door nowadays has been made after breaking the wall. Cooking gas, godowns and wells of Nalanda. Cooking gas of Nalanda. Every hostel had a separate cooking gas and bhikshus were the ones who used to make food on these chulhas, that is cooking gas. These chulhas were used not only for cooking but also for experiments, which means that at the time of taking meals, these chulhas were used for cooking, and otherwise these were used by students and teachers for experiments. We can say that it was used by teachers as laboratory too, as medicines were made in the Mahavihar only. Although today only remains of it are left, but multi-purpose use of chulha made it so much important part of life at Nalanda in those times. Rice godowns. This Mahavihar has one corner where rice was stored in bulk. It is a very big godown which is triangular in shape, and this only makes these 3 godowns special. Burnt rice stored in matkas, that is pots, was found in excavations which are showcased in the museum. Well, just like we had wells in olden times, Nalanda Mahavihar too had a well there. After thousands of years, the well is still there, with the only difference that earlier it was used for drinking purpose and now it's just a showpiece for people to see. Temples, tombs, and 3 libraries of Nalanda. Temples of Nalanda. From the 1 kilometer excavated area, 11 temples have been found, which are right in front of 11 hostels of students, which clearly state that each hostel had a separate temple of its own, and there was a restriction in entering other Vihar's temples. Shariputra's temple was the common one, where students from all Viharas could go. Tombs of monks. In the middle of temples and hostels is an open space where there are tombs and meditation platforms. The platforms which are round in shape are tombs of the monks, and the platforms having square shape are the ones where monks and students used to meditate together. 3 libraries. The libraries of Nalanda were given the name of Dharmagunj, which had 3 big libraries. It is believed that these libraries had lakhs of scriptures which were kept with great care in those times. These were not just devotional and religious, but were related to other fields too. But today, not even a single scripture is left. The names of these 3 libraries were Ratnasagar, Ratnadadhi, and Ratnaranjaka. It is said that these 3 libraries kept on burning continuously for 3 months, and that is the reason that not even a single brick of these libraries is left. What is left after 8 centuries are the stairs that go towards these gigantic libraries. Till now, only 1/10 part of Nalanda Mahavihar has been excavated, and historians are of the view that the rest of the Mahavihar is still buried under the hills and trees. Rulers who built and renovated Nalanda Mahavihar. According to historians, the basic structure of Nalanda Mahavihar was laid by Kumargupta, the son of Chandragupta II, in the 5th century AD, after which this Mahavihar saw continuous construction and renovation. In the 7th century, Harshvardhan of Kannauj did renovation, and in the 9th century, Pala Empire was the one which did further construction. King Punarvarman got made an 80 feet high statue of Buddha. In the very first phase, vihara, that is hostels, were made by Kumargupta. These viharas had a Buddha sculpture made of brass in his earth-touching pose, which King Harshvardhan got constructed. The same has also been described by Hyun Tsang in his book. Harshvardhan was the first one who instructed that incomes from 100 nearby villages would go to the people of Mahavihar, and with that, rice, milk and ghee would also be supplied by 200 families on daily basis. Harshvardhan used to call himself servant of all bhikshus and had great regard for them. After many years, Pala kings also made other viharas. It is said by historians that kings from Indonesia, Java and Sumatra used to send gifts to Pala kings for making these viharas. Also, there is a written proof of 108 temples which were made by Acharya Suvishnu. With the advent of Pala kings, monks at the Mahavihar were given other duties too, and importance of Nalanda was diminishing because of occult studies which were not prevalent before Pala's entry, which meant that with Mahayana, now Vajrayana was also being taught. Pala kings ruled from 8th till 12th century, but by this time it was limited to Bihar and Bengal. But some historians say that just the way Hinayan was taught in Takshila, Mahayana in Nalanda, occultism was taught only in Vikramshila, which was another popular university of ancient Bharat, and not in Nalanda. Destroyers of Nalanda Mahavihar. It is believed that good things do raise others' eyebrows, and it turned out to be true in case of Nalanda Mahavihar. Although Mahavihar got destroyed in the 12th century, but it was never short of its enemies even in its prime days. During the reign of Skandagupta in 5th century, it was attacked by Huns, but was renovated by Gupta kings later. Second time, efforts were made to attack Mahavihar in the 7th century by Gaurs. And during this time, Harshvardhan was the one who came forward and did renovations. But Nalanda Mahavihar could not be saved when it was attacked for the 3rd time, and this time it was Turkey's Bakhtiar Khilji, and the attack was made with such preparation that no one could save it or think of renovating it. It kept on burning for months, especially the 3 libraries which had loads and loads of knowledge kept on burning for 3 months, and not even single manuscript was left. Bakhtiar Khilji came to know of its richness when he was ill. Once it so happened that he developed a health problem and went for so many treatments but could not get well. Then someone suggested him about Acharya Rahul Shri Bhadra of Nalanda Mahavihar. Seeing Khilji's condition and unaware of its consequences, he agreed to treat him. He did not have even an inkling of what would happen next. Khilji was adamant that for his treatment he would not go out of his religion. Now, what Rahul Shri Bhadra did was that he pasted the medicine on some pages of Quran and asked Khilji to touch each and every word while reading it. And this way, he kept on eating the medicine that was pasted by Rahul Shri Bhadra without coming to know of it. And within few days, he was fine. When he got all right and came to know the reason of his wellness, he just could not tolerate that how could any other religion be so powerful. That was the time when he thought of destroying Nalanda Mahavihar and was successful too. His enmity, jealousy and hatred for Buddhism became the reason of extinction of Buddhism from Bharat. So many of monks were killed and burnt mercilessly. So many of them moved to Nepal and Tibet, and few of them were successful in saving and taking some manuscripts with them, which is the reason why Buddhism got more popular in these countries. Because as far as Bharat was concerned, it is believed that not even a single manuscript could be saved here. It was Khilji's desire to destroy Buddhism from its base from Bharat, and to a great extent he succeeded too. But roots of Bodh Dharma were so strong that in spite of all this, it could not leave Bharat. In fact, this destruction became the reason of its popularity worldwide. Not only Nepal and Tibet, but impact of Buddhism can very well be seen in countries like Japan, China, Thailand, Myanmar, Burma, etc. Had Khilji been alive today, he would have got surprised to see that the religion which he wanted to destroy completely had spread in the world and is just not limited to Bharat. Outsiders always had an eye on us. In the beginning, they came here for trading purpose. And then, so many of them looted us of our wealth and heritage. So many ruled us, and we had to bear their cruelties. Their aim was to completely demolish our culture, heritage, and architecture. And to a great extent, they succeeded too. But even after their successful efforts, no matter in a small form, but our culture did survive. And if we talk of Buddhism, people like Khilji tried destroying it completely. And succeeded too. But the result was that it was vanished from Bharat. But this Bharatiya religion spread in the whole world. Nalanda Mahavihar's description by Hyun Tsang. Since the time Hyun Tsang was born, he had seen and experienced Buddhism's influence on his family, and this is the reason that since childhood he had learned a lot about Buddhism. He was a complete monk at the young age of 20. But even after getting so much knowledge about Buddhism, he still felt incomplete and felt the need to explore more. Whatever knowledge of Buddhism was there in China was passed on from Bharat only. Now, since Buddhism did not really belong to China as far as its roots were concerned, Hyun Tsang developed a doubt that whether all that he has learned about Buddhism till now is 100% correct or not. That was the time when he decided that if he wants true knowledge of Buddhism, he must visit Bharat, the birthplace of Buddha and Buddhism. This transformation happened when one of the students of Acharya Shilbhadra of Nalanda Mahavihara was visiting China. When Hyun Tsang met him, he got convinced by him that if he wants right knowledge, he must go to Nalanda Mahavihara. Although the decision of coming to Bharat was easy, but his travel to Bharat was full of difficulties, where so many times he faced near-death experiences. So many times he would be without food, but he knew what he wanted. His perseverance paid, and he reached Bharat after 3 long years. Yes, it took him 3 years to come to Bharat. After coming to Bharat and exploring Buddhism, he got a lot of knowledge and wrote books on his Bharat visit after going back to China. And prominently, his book deals with Nalanda because the reason for his visit to Bharat was Buddhism alone, and Nalanda was the epicenter of Buddhism knowledge. In a few years' time after Bakhtiyar Khilji destroyed Nalanda, people had forgotten it, till the time written proofs by Hyun Tsang were found. But still, even after this written description about Nalanda Mahavihara, it was not easy to find it. In the year 1811, Francis Buchanan visited the site when, after getting information from local villagers, he came to know that there are some relics of an old building. But during his research, he was not sure that it was Nalanda. But years after Buchnan's visit, in the year 1847, Major Markham declared the remains to be Nalanda Mahavihara. Inspection of the place started in the year 1861-62 by Alexander Cunningham and Archaeological Survey of India. But excavation started in 1915 only, and then in the year 1974 and 1982, second and third phases of excavation were conducted. Hyun Tsang has written about Nalanda Mahavihar very minutely. It was from this book only that everyone came to know about Nalanda's existence. Hyun Tsang took education from here and also taught here for some time. He was a follower of Buddhism and Nalanda Mahavihar, and because of this reason, he was given lot of regard at the Mahavihar. When he left Bharat, he took lot of manuscripts from here, which he later on translated in his own language after getting back to China. It is believed that while going back to China, he had taken 657 Buddhist manuscripts, 150 relics, and so many more things which were taken on around 20 horses, and out of which 74 manuscripts were translated by him in his own language. While historians also say that he lost so many of the books while crossing the river Brahmaputra. Hyun Tsang took education from Nalanda from Acharya Shilbhadra and was very much influenced by his knowledge of Buddhism. This was the time when Acharya Shilbhadra gave him the name Mokshadev. Another Chinese traveller, Itising, learnt Sanskrit from Srivijaya, and after learning Sanskrit, which was prerequisite for taking admission in Nalanda, he studied there for about 10 years. And while going back to China, he also took around 400 Sanskrit manuscripts, which he translated in Chinese language later on. Coming back to Hyun Tsang, he got lot of regard and respect at Nalanda Mahavihar, which is clear from the fact that after 1 year of his returning to China, a monk named Pragyadev had sent some clothes for him. Within 30 years of Hyun Tsang's visit, at least 11 visitors had come to Nalanda for studies from China. From the excavations of Nalanda, many sculptures, coins, inscriptions, etc. have been found. There are about 14,500 items found till date which have been kept at the museum. One must go and visit the ancient Nalanda along with the museum to witness how great our culture, country and intellect of countrymen was. Jai Hind!